Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today I'm the Sanhedrin daf Mem Beis. Today we're going to begin on Mem Beis and Alpha, about 7 lines from the top. We were learning about Kiddush Levana. The Yom Rav Achabar Chanina, Rav Asi, Yom Rav Yochanan, Kol Mavarech al Chodesh Bizmanoi. Anyone who says the bracha of the moon in its proper time, Ki Makabel Pnei Shechina. It's like you're Makabel the Shechina. Ksiv Hacha al Chodesh Zeh, the Ksiv Hasam Zeh Keli Van Vehu. So we see a connection between HaChodesh Hazeh, which has to do with, happens to be also this week's Parsha, and Parsha's Bo, 2025, that establishing the calendar, which is through the moon, is a way of Zekel V'Yanvei, was connecting to God. Tana de Rabbi Yishmuel, Ilmo, Ilozach Yisrael, Kabam Ne'avim Shem Shabbaim Kol Chodesh V'Chodesh Dayim. This, of course, we say during Kiddush Levana. If all we would do is say Kiddush Levana, that would be great, and that would be even enough. It should be said standing up in order to demonstrate its significance. Okay. Says Rashi, Omer Bai Hoyo Mekabel Pnei Shechinahu Mu'umid Boy Lav Ruche. So a lot of people misunderstand this. It's the Hilkach Nemrinu Mu'umid, because it's not in the entire, this nusach is not what we recite in Kiddush Levana, the first part. So most people think is, since we only if you only is Zaycha to do this once a month, that's enough. So you should say Mu'umid because it's so chashiv. No, it's based on the previous memra that Makabel Pnei Shechina hu Mu'umid by Lavruchim, they covered Shechina Shumakabel. Okay. Marei Mar Zutra Makas via Hadodi. They were supporting each other. And Mavarchi, and they were giving bracha. Some are Le Rav Achel Rav Ashi B'Marava in Eretz Yisrael Mavruchi Baruch Mechadesh Chadashim. They would say the bracha Mechadesh Chadashim. Armalei Hai Nishei Didan Nami Mavruche. So our women also should say this bracha. El Rav Yehuda Diamar Rav Yehuda Baruch V'Chulu Asher B'Mamora Bar Shechakim Mavrech Piv Kol Savam Choikus Man Nosalahem Shul Yishanu Es Tafkidam. They didn't change the job. She Sosam Smeichim Lasos Ratzain Ratzin Koinam, that they were rejoiceful to do the will of Hashem. Poli Emes Shepulos and Emes Lavana Oimar Shetischadesh. Regarding the moon was said to renew a terrace Tiferes Lamusi Baten Shehem Asin L'Schadesh Kamoisa L'Feru Yosem Hashem Kabod Malchusa Baruch Hashem Echadash Kadashim, which is pretty much verbatim of what we actually say. So Rashi says Lavana Oimar Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shetischadesh B'Chol Chodesh, that the Hashem commands the sun to be mechadish every single month. Okay. Weiter. Baruch Hashem mechadish chadashim. And then we have a pasuk in Mishlei. It says like this: Tibet tachboylois taslach milchama. With counsel you'll do war. Amar Rav Bar Chanina, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yochanan, b'miata maitzim milchamta shel Torah. Who's the one who goes out to war of Torah and paskins? B'mi sheish b'yoda chavila shel Mishnah. Only someone who has barrels and bundles of Mishnayos. In other words, you can't learn the depths if you don't know the basics. So he called upon himself that one who has a lot of tevuah, b'koyach shor, is like a strong ox. So again, we see from here this concept, this important concept, that when it comes to being able to grasp Torah on the highest level, you have to also know Mishnayos. Question 1. Ki b'tachbulois also l'chamacham b'beizim l'chamakoi kra u'mehem hatachboilois. So it's milchamta shel Torah, tachboilois hainu chavila shel Mishnah. Okay, so that's what it's referring to. Question TB22, which actually, I would say was yesterday's daf, but nonetheless, the question is, Ad Eza Tairich B'Chodesh Nitin Levarach HaSalavana. So we saw this on Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis. This is TB 22, and it says like this: Ad Shetismali Pagimasa. The pagam, the cavity in the moon, once filled up. Vakama, how much is that? So one says Ad Sheva, and Nardoi Amri Ad Shisha Aser, until the 16th. So it's actually a machlokas, right? So it's the 16th or Zion Boy, the 7th. Okay, which is TB 22. Fine, weiter. And then the Mishnah said, Echadaimer b'shtei sha'is v'chulu. So if one said 2 hours, one said 3 hours, so that is enough of a not such a big mistake, and therefore it's not a contradiction. If they said 3 and 5, that's a huge gap. Or if they say 5 to, but definitely if you say 5 to 7, so 5 the sun is rising, 7 the sun is setting. So there, that certainly is a contradictory testimony. Shimi barashi lo shanu. The only time we say this din is ella shois, is by hours. That one holds a person can make a mistake with 2 hours or only up to a certain amount. If you make a mistake about sunrise before, after sunrise, says Rashi, Hanetzachama simin muvhaku. That's a distinct simin. Vein l'toisen shenetzachama b'taich shizarachas. You're not going to make a mistake. The sun is shining, so either the sun is shining or the sun is not shining. So the difference between before and after Netzachama, everyone holds. So pshita. Even if it's that close of a distinction, so hanami pshita. Manatema ha begiluye koi. This one we can say is in its open area. Zuhuri ba'alma hudachaza, and he saw the shine kamash malon. So again, it's possible that they really saw the same thing, and therefore it really wasn't different times. So we do this only on this day, not otherwise. If we hear that the words have some validity, so we don't take them down at all. So we see he doesn't go down if he has substance to his words. Fine. The student doesn't go down. If it's not so clear, his words. We won't take him out that day. So we won't say that his elevation is Yerida. But what do we see? We see clearly that, because it'll be a busha if you take him down right away, but we see clearly that if he knows what he's talking about, we don't take him down. So we're talking about a case where there's ein mamish b'dvarav, then we don't take him down that one day. So yayin, my time low. Rabbi Acha Bar Chanina Amar Kra. The pasuk says, why can't they drink wine? Because the pasuk says, l'roiznim shechar, that the noble ones will be without wine. Ha'iskin barazu shel oilam, those who are in Isaac in this very important matter of the world, al yishtakru, they shouldn't be drinking and getting drunk. Matzos choschulu, so they find out they possibly a different way, so they're going to fight it out to switch opinions. Lo romai. What if no one changes their mind? So then he goes free. Why don't you just potter him right away? Why do we have to do all this? Just potter him. Says Rashi, we're adding until 71, and they divide up, and they're arguing. Why are we stretching out this case so much? Like, why do we have to do this? Just free him and that's it. So Ma'ur vovin. We do not want a person to go leave Beis Din in disarray, says Rashi. Genaila Beis Din, it looks bad. Shiatza b'machlokus, that there's just a big argument. Vein yoidin ligmar sedin, they don't know how to complete paskin. So therefore, we would rather them reach a conclusion than to not reach a conclusion and just pot to the guy. So let him leave from the first Beis Din. Says Rashi, why do we add on to the original ones? Just keep who they are. So actually, there is an opinion like you. We don't, just like we do not add to a 71 court. So you're right, we don't add anymore according to you. You're right. Tanabanan. Oimer b'dini momnus. Regarding monetary cases, it's stated nizdakoin hadin, that this din got old. Ve'ein loimer b'din nefashos dakan hadin. We don't say that it got old. So mine is dakan hadin. So ilema kashdina, that this din is difficult, says Rashi. Zakin din zeh, this old court, this case. The almuk v'kasha v'sercha hamtin lo. We have to wait on it. It should say the opposite, says Rashi. But din nefashos sarcha ein yoser. You should have to look more into when it comes to din nefashos, not din imamnus. So Amar Rav Huna bar Menayach mishmei Rav Acha b'reidu Ravika. Ipoch, you're right. You flip it around. Rav Ashi Amar lo tepoch. So how come by din nefashos we don't? Umain is kakan hadin chacham dina, says Rashi. Yafa hamantanu al borov. It's good that he stood up against these who are not knowledgeable. The echad mimenu sarach hafech lodaktik bo ve'in oimrim kein b'din nefashos shaf mishenigmru. Once it's gemar din, yimididaktu ha'echad v'yimsulu schus machzion as a din. So when it comes to din nefashos, you're right. If the situation is you turn out that someone is more medaktik and he finds a schus, we will be machzion din, not the other, but not by din imamnus. Meisvei gadosh b'dayanim, the greatest of the judges that are there. Oyman is dakan adin. Chacham dina, that the chacham is one who is coming up with some schus. That's the pshat. So hananiyamer gadol. That's why it says the gadol of the dayanim, because he's the smartest one. El yamer kashdina is just saying there's a difficult case and you need to wait. Lo sagi the yamer gadol. Why does it have to be that the gadol is one who says it? He's embarrassed because since he's older and most knowledgeable, he should hopefully have known this answer. There's no comparison being embarrassed by yourself than being embarrassed by others. Says Rashi, Toiv huloi, it's better for him shehu mavayish atzmoi, that he, the gadol, should be the one who embarrasses himself. Then for someone else to say it, and then it'll be even more embarrassing. Better to embarrass yourself than for someone else to embarrass you exactly the same thing. That's why the gadol is the one who says it. Praising himself, someone else should be praising you. So Shani Milsa debate Dina the Gadol Ramya, that it's all goes on the Gadol. Kedanan Gamras Adavar Hayamachnis and Isu Gadol Shabadayanim. We bring it the Gadol of the Dayanim come. Oimer Ish Ploiniato Zaka Ish Ploiniato Chayev. So we see already that the Gadol has a more substantial role, and therefore that's potentially the answer as well. Question 2. Mahu kash dina, like pushing off the din or waiting. V'im oimrim kain b'din nefashos or b'din imamnus. So we said like this. So kash hainu the oimrim omuk v'kasha din zeh. It's very difficult. V'sercha hamtin. The oimrim kain rak b'din nefashos. By din nefashos we'll push it off. because we of Sila Eda. Mahu Chacham Dina. Im Oimrim came Bedina Fashos O Dinim Mamamnus. So Chacham Dina Hainu Oimrim Ha'amantanu Al-Burov. They ain't to look into anymore. Yomrim Kain Rak Bedini Mamnus. To say that I'm a gadol and I know we don't have to look into this anymore. That is said by the gadol only when it comes to dini mamnus, but by din nefashos, we would prefer that a person would continue to debate and come up with an answer in time. Hanulach hayuboitkin, hanulach hayuboitkin, hanulach hayuboitkin. We now continue to Membeis, Beis, with the 6th parak. Nigmar Hadin. Says the Mishnah, Nigmar Hadin, once a person is found guilty at the end, Moitzian Oisil Cyclo, let's assume the person was kind of skila. So out of the Arba Misos, that would be 1. So they're going to kill the guy. So Beis HaSkila Hayachutza Beistin. Beis HaSkila could not be in the courts, but it had to be Chutza Beistin. Shnemar Hoitzis Amakalil, they have to take him out. Echad Oymen Al Pesach Beistin. One is by the entrance of the courts. Vasudorim Biyad is holding a kerchief. The Sus Rachik Mimenu is a horse far away. Kadeshi Roehu Oymer Echad Yesh Limud Alav Schus. So if someone would say, I think there's a schus on his man's behalf, even though he's about to be killed, Halal Menim Besudran, he will wave his handkerchief. Vasus Rotz Umamidon, the horseman will run and stop the execution. So right before a person is about to be killed, says, "No, I have a schos. I think I have a good taina why I should not be found guilty. I shouldn't be killed." So they'll listen to him, and if it sounds somewhat logical, they'll bring him back. Obviously, if he's just doing it to stall, but he has absolutely nothing to say, then that won't help. Says the Gemara. Is it true that the base of skill was only outside of the courts, like right outside of it? But the base of skill it was actually outside of Machna Shechina, Machna Yisrael, Machna Levi, everything, right? So you're right, Kiddi Ka'amr, like you said. The reason why we said just outside of Beis Nafkimina the Nafik Beidina of they went out, the Yosef Chutz L'Shosh Machanais, and let's say the Beis Din was outside of the 3 Machanos, Avdin and Beis HaSkil Chutz Beis Din. Still, even though they're already outside of the 3 Machanos, it still cannot be within the Beis Din, it still has to be Chutz Beis Din. Kihechi, for a couple of reasons. Delo Mischazi Beis Din Reitzchen. We don't want the Beis Din to look like they're a bunch of murderers, so we want to make sure that the place of execution is not in the same place as the court system. Also, the fact that it's further out, so once he's found guilty, it'll take time to get him to the proper location. And therefore, for that second reason, is why it's not together, which is question 3. Am I be'inan shebeis haskil haya yerachlik mibeis din? So either so that the base doesn't look like Reitzchim, and also in order that there should be Hatzal im Yimsal Schos. If some you can find some schos, then that would be preferable, and therefore we separate them as we just said. Now, Minhan Emili. So the Gemara wants to know, how do we know that the actual execution is supposed to take place chutz outside of all 3 machnos? The Tanabanim. Haitzes Makalil el mechutz machna. So the Makalil, who was going to be sentenced to death, was to leave outside of the machna. Chutz gimel machnos. That means outside of all 3, even machna Yisrael. So ata aymer chutz gimel machnos hoenu ela chutz machna achas. Maybe only 1. So nemer kan mechutz machna nemer beparman esrafim chutz machna. When it comes to the parman esrafim, the parim that are burnt, which is outside, that's malahon chutz shalosh machnos, avkan chutz shalosh machnos. So that's how we learn it out from the parim hanesrafim. Okay, Before we continue, let's look at this Rashi. Kihechi delo lichse beis and reitzchen. To genai hadavar ditnan Sanhedrin haregas pamachas mishmu nikus chavlonis. The koshkim im hayakar v'um kaiman mixi makom ibu nefashos. So people are going to again look at them as murderers, or kedei, says Rashi, shadei shoyis l'skil. There's time before he gets killed. But haderach, while he's like traveling. He can be saved during that time. Okay, so by the par Nasraf from Rashi says is a par helm davar shel tzibor, which is the situation where the tzibor makes sins, or par kohen Mashiach, or by the par which is brought by the kohen gadol. Shein nechalom el Nasrafim. So the din is, the reason why they're called par Nasrafim is because this par is not eaten at all, but rather this par is completely burnt. And that's going to be done outside of all the machnos. So we said like this. So Avkan chutz l'shosh machnos. How do we know over there by the par Nasrafim that's supposed to be outside? None. The Tanu Rabbanon. Hoitzi es kol hapar el mechutz l'machna. That the par should be taken outside of chutz l'shalosh machnos. So ato chutz l'shalosh machnos o el chutz l'machna achas kishoimer el mechutz l'machna b'par ha'eda she'ein talmud loimer shahari kvar nema. The pasuk already says of sarf oiso. It already says it has to be burnt. It's not eaten. It's rather burnt. Kasher sarf is a par harisha, just like the first one was burnt. Litan loy machne shnia. To talk about the second machne, which is machne levia, shu'oimer el mechutz l'machna b'dashin shentel whenever shahari nemar el shevach hadeshen yisarif has to be burnt by the shevach hadeshen. So lita the machne shlishus. So that's how we know. So for the Gemara, v'leil mishchute chutz. Why don't we learn out from shchute chutz that malhon chutz l'machne achas avkan chutz l'machne achas when there's a chiyuv to bring a carbon inside the base of mikdash. So if you would instead bring the carbon not even outside the Machne Yisrael, even in Machne Levia, that's also considered Shchutei Chutz. So why do we learn out from that? That's where the base of skill can be. The Mastabra B'Par Menasrafim, Havel Melech. Better you can learn out from B'Par Menasrafim. Why? Shkein Hoitzel Michutz Machne, because they're being taken out, the par is being taken outside the Machne. Machshir Machaper. And it's a machshir and a machaper, which is the same thing. This person who's being killed is a machshir machaper. So adrabba, b'shchuti chutz havul amel shechein adam chayta, shechein adam, he's a person, and he's a chayta, he's a sinner. B'neshama, there's a neshama being taken away, and there's an iser pigul. The answer is machshir mimachshir adif. Better to learn out from one machshir to another machshir. Let's look at Rashi. Shechein moitzel mechutz machshir mechaper. Siman shedayim mekal parim, that this mekal is comparable to the parim nasrafim b'chol elu v'lo shchuti chutz. Okay, because shchuti chutz is not mechaper; it's a sin, right? But parim nasrafim is a proper thing to do, and also having him sentenced to death is proper. But Adam mechutz machne and mekal b'Adam ksiv. The chein b'shchuti chutz is an Adam, as opposed to Parim Nisrafim, which is an animal. Chayte, Mekalil Chaytehu. The Mekal was a sinner. V'shaychid Chutz Chayte. Shchuti Chutz is outside. Lefuki Par Dul Chaytehu. B'neshama Mechutz L'machana Shel Shneihim Netilus Neshama. It's taking away Neshama. Pigul Mechutz L'machana De Shchuti Chutz. Mekal Iyata Moitze Pigul Aline Oiso Chutz L'machana. Although Parim Roinless Paling Aline Oiso Chutz L'machana. Okay. So we said machshir mimachshir adif way. So therefore, we're going to learn out from Parim Nisrafim. Rapapa Eimer Moshe Heichen Havi. Where did Moshe Rabbeinu was a lady live? Obviously, b'Machne Levia, in the middle of Machne. Yermali Rachmano Haitzias Makala El Mechutz Machne. Take him out. So Chutz Machne Levia. Obviously, that pasuk means he has to be taken out of the second camp. Yotziu Es Makala El Mechutz Machne Chutz L'Machne Yisrael. Then the pasuk again says that he should be taken out, which means even out of Machne Yisrael. So therefore we see Beferish by the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, because the starting point is not by Machne Shechina. Where did Moshe reside? In Machne Levia. And therefore, when it says it, leave, so it meant leave Machne Levia, and then leave, which is Machne Yisrael. So that's the riot. So Haimi Boyle Lasiya. We needed this, says Rashi, loimer shikamosh nitstavu kachosu. It's telling you how to do it. So you can't say that it's like an extra word for a drasha. No, the actual asiya, that's explicit already. As we continue Mem Gimel Aleph, as the pasuk says, "Uvnei asu," that they did kasher siba Hashem as Moshe. So therefore, these extra psukim are teaching you the din of how the execution has to be outside of all three machnas. So until now, that's what you're saying. It says v'yirgmu so Oven that they pelted them with stones. My abdile, my abdile hahum boyle l'chnesanya. V'yirgmu oisem Oven oisay v'lo b'ksusay. It means that they hit him, not his clothes, which means he was without clothing. Even, what does the stone mean? She'im meis bo even achas yotza. Even if you got killed with one stone, you fulfill the obligation. It needs to say stone and stones. Because if let's say you didn't get killed with one stone, so then don't bring another one. So because then you should even use more than one stone. Because you start off with two. Because you can start with one. Vaha haitana nemar kamar. Says Rashi, Migzera shava de parim yofel. He learns out from Parnas Rafim. Ve'echata rapapol aflugi lehadatana. How can you argue with this? It's Gzera shava. So ilu nemar kaimer vahachi kaimer. Ilu nemar kra. If the pasuk didn't say anything, so hayisa oimer Gzera shava. There'd be Gzera shava. Achshav shenemar kra. Once there's a pasuk Gzera shava loitzarach, you don't need the Gzera shava anymore. Ravashi Omer Moshe Heche Haviyase b'Machna Lavia. He was already in Machna Lavia. The Yarmali Rachmano Hoitzes Makal Chutzal Machna Lavia. The Yishuli Machna Lavia. El Mechutzal Machna Chutzal Machna Yisrael. The Yotziu Asak Makalel Lasiya Asiya Behedik Sib Behu Ubnei Yisrael Asu Kasher Siva Hashem As Moshe. So he said Hahuma Boyle Chad L'Smicha V'Chad L'Dechia. Says Rashi. So also af smicha udechia. Also the resting the hands on the mace and the pushing. Smicha v'samcha kol hashaymin. Dechia lav hacha ksiva ela masinai. So Amali Rabbanu Ravashi udidach kol hani hoitzi dechsiv b'parmas rafim my darshi base. So what do you do with all those words by the parmas rafim? So in that taka is a kasha. Okay, we're certainly going to stop there. Let's see, maybe another question. Question 4, nope. TA 21. Two answers. So, chutzl based in, the chutzl gimel machanais. Okay, I see. So that's actually true, TA 21, because let's see, TA 21, because Di'i nafik beidina v'yosef chutzl sholosh machanais avdinin beis askil chutzl beistin. So they're both necessary. Okay. All right. Question TB 23. Hamakalel ksiv even. Umakoishish ksiv avanim. Madua kasu avatar chiluk l'shaynis halolu. So why does it say even or in avanim? So by the Makalel it says even, that you kill him with a stone. Okay, let's just find this. We just had this. V'itzrich l'michtav even. Even, which is by the Makalel. It says Evan. V'itzrach l'michtav avanim, and it says by the Mekoishesh Eitzim, it says avanim. So yes, my dua kasma tayra chiluk l'shanis halolu. So di'ichas harachmana Evan hava mina heichad lo meis mechada lo neseach riti umigdale. Maybe you can't kill him, right, with a second stone. And if the pasuk said avanim, Hava mina mikara naisi tarati, you should also bring Start off with 2. Kamash Malan, you start off with 1. TB23. That's what I wrote. Im yochel hummus b'chol misa shati yochel hummus o im sarch yad edem b'rishonim hamisoi. I do not think that's the correct answer. Ad kan.